He had acquired the heal skill. Looking at his own chest, Shutra was impressed with the renowned genius mage Felicia Doomblade. Worried, Felicia asked if he could stand up now. Stammering, he agreed, thanking his sister. Before he could get up, however, they both heard heavy footsteps. A violent red orc with white hair and furious eyes advanced like an out-of-control train. Confused by what it was, Shutra, who was more knowledgeable, explained, "That's a blood ogre, a mutant subspecies of ogres." Surprised, Felicia asked fearfully if they needed to get past it to escape. Before Shutra could answer, the ogre's shadow was already upon them. The sibling duo ran desperately as the ogre pursued and roared at them. There was no way to fight that thing. With an axe in hand, the red ogre attacked the duo of brothers, who fortunately managed to dodge the blows. Shutra, looking back, questioned in panic, "How can he be so big and so fast at the same time?" Beside him, Felicia asked, "Hold him off for a while, I can defeat him with magic." The protagonist's eyes widened, asking his sister how he was supposed to do that. While they were talking distractedly, the ogre attacked again, causing the ground to erupt and Shutra to fly forward. Recovering, Shutra warned Felicia, "All right, I'll draw his aggro somehow. You prepare the attack." Felicia was confused, asking what aggro was but understood what her brother meant. The protagonist looked for Carrick, shouting, "Let's do the same thing we did last time. Get ready!" Shutra immediately opened a window upon approaching Carrick, his inventory. There in the inventory was a dagger. Materializing the dagger, he prepared to use a spell. The dagger filled with power and shot towards the ground. Shutra stuck the dagger into the ground, releasing the accumulated energy which went towards Carrick as Shutra roared, "Under the king's banner!" All the energy was absorbed by the orc Carrick's body, strengthening him. With so much power inside his body, Carrick even felt his confidence grow. He roared fiercely, preparing for battle. The red ogre was startled by Carrick's roar, who furiously charged, raising his cleaver. Carrick's cleaver fell upon the ogre's axe, creating a spark with the impact. However, the cleaver advanced, and the ogre could do nothing but use his own body as a shield and suffer. Carrick didn't stop, launching another attack, this time to the side. The attack hit the ogre squarely, like a knife stuck in a meat board. The ogre gritted his teeth, trying to withstand the attacks. As soon as the ogre raised his axe to counterattack, an illusory Felicia appeared above him. The young dark elf was alert, ready for a surprise attack. She stopped in front of the ogre's back, extended her hands, and cast the spell. Immediately, a gooey liquid appeared under the ogre's feet, making him slip as if stepping on a banana peel. The ogre fell heavily on his back, almost causing an earthquake. Seizing the opportunity, Carrick leapt onto him. With eyes full of fury, Carrick shouted, "This is the end!" Like a comet, Carrick fell upon the red ogre, driving him into the ground with his cleaver strike. The ogre could no longer endure and, due to a sequence of blows, coughed one last time. Creating a crater with the ogre's body, Carrick emerged as the victor of the battle. Beside him, Shutra observed the final outcome of the fight. Even with other enemies remaining, he had seen the most problematic bastard defeated. It was at this moment that a golden light enveloped Shutra's body, surprising him. As the light appeared, so did a notification window. He had leveled up to 10, finally reaching the level he had been waiting for. What Shutra had expected happened. One of his skills, the main character's buff, leveled up. Smiling slightly, he read the other notifications. Thanks to the level 2 main character buff, a new passive skill has been added. Smiling, he decided to open the gift box and check what he had obtained. Shutra's new skill was called Battlefield Blessing. The accuracy of ranged weapons aimed at him would slightly decrease. Shutra was excited to see the skill, which could save him from many incidents. This skill was very common in games and movies, having been seen by many people. It was how a character would run in one direction, and bullets fired at them would never hit, always just passing very close to their body. With this skill, Shutra was confident he could recreate the effect of the main character's buff. Suddenly, Shutra heard a girl's scream as several red lightning orcs emerged, returning to the camp. Waking her brother, Felicia screamed while fleeing from them. "Shutra, what are you doing? The enemies are coming!" To distract the orcs, Felicia turned, gathering a large amount of wind around her. Pointing at the red orcs, she chanted, "Oh wind, spin and rage!" A tornado appeared at her command, tossing the orcs into the air. Even from a distance, feeling the power of the wind, Shutra was dumbfounded. What Felicia had displayed seemed like magic, but it wasn't magic itself. He quickly figured it out by looking more closely at the various spiritual butterflies in the wind. Those were spirits, definitely. Even though they were a species of corrupted elves, Felicia showed why they were still called elves. Extending her hands, the dark elf created a magic circle, showing her talent not only as a mage but as a spiritual summoner. With such power, she created a sphere of wind, trapping the orcs who still dared to pursue them. From the ground, watching his sister fly and use magic and wind spirits, Shutra blushed slightly, excitedly wondering if her attack could hit him. In the starless night, a burst of light surged across the sky. As the specks of light fell, the orcs looked up in surprise. Gazing at the sky, Carrick asked the prince if that was the fire signal. Shutra nodded, reminding Carrick that a yellow signal meant an order to retreat. Carrick was confused, asking why they would retreat. Shutra didn't know either. He wondered what was happening, fearing someone was in danger. Carrick immediately asked the prince to give them an order. Thus, Shutra did. Carrick, gather the troops and retreat. I'm going to check on Caitlin. Carrick was confused by the prince's plan. What do you mean? Then I'm going with you. However, Shutra refused, remembering there must be a reason for the retreat order, and asked Carrick to follow his command. As Carrick was worried, Felicia reassured him. I'll go with Shutra. Adjusting her hair, she lightly commented, I can't live with debts hanging over me, so I'd like a chance to repay you. Seeing how the young dark elf claimed to still have some business to attend to with the damned Red Lightning Tribe orcs, Carrick agreed. Bidding farewell and asking the prince to be careful, Carrick advised that he would wait for him at the top of the mountain. After saying goodbye to Carrick, Felicia accompanied Shutra, asking doubtfully, Do you really need to go to where Caitlin is? Shutra wanted to check on the situation because they didn't know why the retreat order had been given so suddenly. Felicia surmised, but couldn't believe Caitlin could have been captured. Hoping nothing had happened to Caitlin, Shutra stated they would all return together if she was all right. Looking at her brother, the young elf asked why he cared so much about Caitlin. Without batting an eye, Shutra replied, Well, she's my sister, so of course I care. He just hid the fact that he was also worried because they had formed an alliance. Crossing her arms, Felicia analyzed the boy in silence. She murmured to herself what he had said. Of course he cares, doesn't he? In one area of the camp, there were some watchtowers and tents and a lot of smoke. Red lightning orcs were rushing about, but something was stopping them. Caitlin was running among them, hitting them one by one with her fists. Against another group of orcs, Caitlin extended her hand, launching fireballs that exploded on impact. However, the monsters kept coming and they roared upon seeing the young woman. Two red orcs advanced towards her and she retreated, running backward. Using aura to conjure magic, she created an ice staff. Wielding the staff, she cut through the orcs, sending them flying. Shutra and Felicia, who had just arrived, were astonished to see Caitlin fighting and winning alone. Felicia smiled, mocking her little brother. See? Just as I thought. He realized, rolling his eyes, that there was nothing he needed to worry about. Surprised to see her brother, Caitlin questioned why he was there instead of retreating. He ended up hastily replying, I came to rescue you. To help you. But it seems I don't need to do anything. Noticing her brother's misunderstanding, Caitlin turned to look at him. However, Caitlin found a woman beside him. In the blink of an eye, Caitlin jumped onto Felicia, hugging her with immense affection. Felicia, thank heavens you're safe. Being hugged so fervently, Felicia looked away shyly. Of course I am. Honestly, you worried too much for nothing. Seeing how close the two were, Shutra was happy. Opening the region map, the protagonist observed the various red dots appearing. Warning the sisters that the enemies were returning, he stated they needed to retreat quickly. Asking Shutra to take the lead, the sisters stayed in the rear, delaying the enemy. Sometime later, several orcs were back in the teleportation hall. Soon, Shutra, Felicia, and Caitlin's group also passed through the portal back. Upon discovering that it was Shutra who had found the portal, Felicia crossed her arms, impressed. Caitlin reaffirmed what she had told her sister, stating that Shutra had made a great contribution to this expedition. Observing the boy talking to Carrick, Felicia quietly asked, When did he change so much? At that moment, Chris appeared, greeting everyone. It seems you've returned safely. Excited to see her brother, Caitlin showed that they had rescued Felicia and brought her back safely. Coldly, Felicia greeted Caitlin's brother and her own brother. It's been a while, Chris. He was silent for a moment, staring at her before replying, It's been a while, Felicia. After some time, the siblings group gathered in a more secluded area of the cave. There, Chris revealed that the news reported that General Vandal's side had also won, and that Yakuzan had surrendered after seeing his own camp in flames. Confused, Shutra asked who Yakuzan was. Beside him, Caitlin revealed that was the name of the Red Lightning Tribe leader, asking if he had forgotten. Joining the conversation, the elf Felicia asked if Yakuzan had surrendered. Own camp in flames. Confused, Shutra asked who Yakuzan was. Beside him, Caitlin revealed that was the name of the Red Lightning Tribe leader, asking if he had forgotten. Joining the conversation, the elf Felicia asked if Yakuzan had surrendered, but Chris corrected her. Not exactly, he just fled somewhere else. If he gathers allies, he could still fight in some way. Having said that, Chris stated the next step. Tomorrow, we will attack Kairam's forces. Kai-chan's older brother. If they join Yakuzan, it will be a problem. Finishing what he had to say, Chris handed the floor to Felicia, asking how she had been captured. Felicia scratched her arm, answering embarrassed. I was studying ruins in that area, so I heard about a battle, and on my way to try and help, I ended up being captured. Frowning, Chris asked if she was telling the truth. With a climate of animosity, Felicia retorted the question, "Why? Don't you believe me?" The two fell silent, staring at each other. Sighing, Chris turned his back on his sister. You've had a difficult day. Let's end it here. As Chris bid farewell to Caitlin and Shutra, Felicia lowered her head, watching him from behind. Orcs and werewolves gathered in the cave. Some slept, others cooked and ate together, while others tended to their wounds. On the other side, the main character observed all the skills acquired during the battle. Looking at them made him happy. However, the only one he could use in combat was his aura. As he tinkered with the skills, someone called him. Felicia, who had changed her clothes, entered the chamber where he was, asking if they could talk for a minute. When Shutra asked what she wanted to talk about, Felicia bit her lips slightly. She then walked up to him and, surprising him, pulled him by his shirt. The protagonist was surprised because, looking him in the eyes and with a soft voice, Felicia asked, "Do you want to take off your shirt?" Facing Felicia's gaze, the protagonist blushed completely. He tried to look somewhere that wasn't wrong to look and asked, stuttering, "Why?" With a serious look, the elf questioned him, "Don't you want your wounds treated?" The sudden understanding was like a shock to Shutra. Placing her hand over Shutra's wounds, Felicia released a healing energy while explaining that what she had done before had only been a quick first aid. This time, she was casting a healing spell to treat the internal wounds he had. Sitting on the ground, his hopes crushed, Shutra waited for Felicia to heal him. Suddenly, Felicia asked why his body had glowed earlier. Revealing that it happened sometimes, Shutra changed the subject, stating he had a favor to ask of her. Felicia's gaze became more serious when Shutra stated, "This is a favor that only you, Felicia, can fulfill." 3 new skills appeared on Shutra's skill tree: healing, poison healing, and disease healing. The young man was quite satisfied to obtain such skills. Thanks to Felicia granting his request, he learned to use 3 healing skills. After finishing the conversation with Felicia, Shutra met with Caitlin. He would finally be learning the feral fist with her. The feral fist was a martial art that was the symbol of the lycanthropes. Among the lycanthropes, the werewolf fists were the foundation of the divine feral fist. For that reason, Caitlin had personally offered to teach him such a style. Caitlin explained the technique. The feral fist also uses both external and internal aura. Today I'll start by teaching you basic aura control using the internal aura. At the same time, she brought her hands together, creating a sphere of aura. Under Caitlin's instructions, Shutra closed his eyes and focused on the internal aura. Very quickly, he began to feel the aura, the power of life. Such power coursed through his veins, throughout his whole body. The aura was infinitesimally close to the power of the soul, and when pushed to its limit, it became the power of the soul itself. When such power became constantly awakened, Shutra opened his eyes. The young man's body glowed and a notification appeared. He had acquired the level 1 passive skill, Protagonist's Body. The acquisition of the skill was quite surprising. Looking at the skill's information, Shutra discovered that it drastically increased the training efficiency of skills learned physically. When the skill evolved, the skill traits for its levels would be unlocked. Mouth agape, Shutra came across another overwhelmingly powerful skill. Besides this skill, he also received Extreme Magical Body, which increased the efficiency of magical power, and the Hero's Blood, which increased the efficiency of trained divine power. Such skills were as good as the passive skills of Zephyr and Locke, the main characters. In addition, there was the matter of the skill traits that could be released. This seemed to be a system where new functions were added with each level, something completely new. Shutra couldn't help but smile excitedly. Confidence overflowed in him, who was originally called main character, as he now knew he had become a protagonist. Caitlin woke the young man, however, asking why he was staring into space and telling him to stay focused. As soon as he apologized, Caitlin stated that they would return to Feral Fist training from the beginning. As soon as he acquired the Feral Fist skill, Shutra executed it, making the aura appear on his fists. Caitlin was really impressed to see him execute the movements of the technique so quickly. This was incredible. Despite his hands being empty, Shutra felt that he was holding something. This was the power of the Feral Fist. Just as they were about to proceed to the next step, a werewolf ran to interrupt the pair, looking for the princess. "We have a big problem." The siblings' attention was drawn by the hurried call. They met with Chris, who promptly revealed, Kairam's forces have disappeared. At the news, the group became confused and surprised. To Chris, Chiron must have discovered their strategy. Upon hearing her brother, Caitlin asked if he had a new plan. Pointing to a spot on the map, he stated, "According to the information provided by General Vandal's side, it seems that Yakuzan and Chiron will meet here." Hearing from Chris that there was a high chance the location was correct, Shutra took the floor, stating that they needed to make a decisive move. Chris nodded and declared, "We will join forces with General Vandal. We will face the Red Thunder tribe in an all-out war alongside the main army. In the main camp of the forces suppressing the Red Lightning tribe, a meeting took place the next day. Vandal, upon meeting with Prince Chris, praised him for the good work. Greeting the general for the first time in a long time, Chris praised him. "You are the same as always, General." Vandal also greeted Princess Felicia, next to Chris asking how she was. However, she cut the small talk, worriedly asking where her subordinates were. Vandal reassured her, stating that they were all fine. Shutra watched the general's interaction with the pair. Vandal had been the character he had used the most in Night Saga. Perhaps that was why he felt that even his face was familiar. In an attempt to interact, Shutra approached the general, extending his hand. "Good to see you, Vandal. I am Shutra." Vandal looked at him for an instant and extended his finger toward him, greeting him this way. "Good to see you too, new Prince Shutra." That night, Shutra dreamed of a woman identical to Felicia. A golden power enveloped her, making her divine. One of her red eyes, however, had turned blue like the sky. In front of Felicia was a knight, with dragon-like armor that covered her whole body and hair on fire. The woman who looked like Felicia noticed the presence of that woman, who stared at her with her sky-blue eyes. In front of the two was Shutra, curiously watching them in front of him. As soon as he saw them, Shutra felt that there were two different energies that represented them. In the first, conquest. In the second, war. It was upon encountering such an image that the young man woke up, confused. He remembered the dream. Shutra was sure he had seen the woman who looked like Felicia before, but he had never seen that woman with red armor. In this moment of confusion, Karak opened the tent, calling the young prince to start moving. Upon leaving the tent with Karak, Shutra came across the orcs, who were already organizing the items they would take to battle. In this war mission, Shutra had been assigned to the left flank, Vandal would be in the center, while Chris and Caitlin would be on the right flank. The Dark Elves, with their superior mobility, had been assigned to stay in the rear, in a separate department. When the advance began, time flew by in the blink of an eye, under the red sky. When Shutra realized it, he was already in front of the battlefield, facing thousands of enemy soldiers. Shutra stood among the orcs and werewolves, facing the army of red orcs, commanding the allied army. Vandal stepped forward shouting, "Everyone, assume combat positions. Let's teach these bastards what it feels like to feel pain." The great red orc raised his axe, roaring, "All forces advance!" Under Vandal's command, green orcs and werewolves advanced furiously. The orcs of the Red Lightning tribe stood ready in front of their army, carrying axes and wooden shields, waiting for the clash. They smiled maliciously. Suddenly, in the middle of the Red Orc army, a large explosion occurred. Vandal looked back, dumbfounded, trying to understand what had happened. Vandal and the green orcs stopped, as they came across something much bigger than them. There was a furious mammoth with volcanoes on its back in the Red Lightning army. Dumbfounded, Vandal recognized such a monster, the swamp mammoth. From the volcanoes on the mammoth's back, explosions occurred. It shot several explosive rocks that fell on the green orc army, exploding. The powerful and inevitable explosions threw the green orcs in all directions, causing a tremendous amount of damage. Shutra and Karak were shocked by the devastating situation. Dumbfounded, Shutra stated, "We were deceived. These bastards knew everything from the start." With several mammoths in their army, the Red Lightning tribe secured the upper hand in the battle. The swamp mammoths, as the name suggested, were monsters similar to mammoths, but their sizes could not be compared to normal monsters. In short, this was a true monster that honored its name. In front of this red monster with furious eyes, Shutra still did not despair. However, suddenly new enemies appeared. Lizardmen, with their sharp claws and long swords, emerged from behind the allied army. The green orcs looked back with frightened eyes. Shutra gritted his teeth upon seeing new enemies. The green orcs had to deal with the new enemies, who savagely caused chaos within the army, breaking their formation. A lizardman spared no effort and jumped toward Shutra, showing his sharp claws and fangs. However, Karak appeared at the last second. Attacking the lizard from behind, Karak promptly shouted to Shutra, "Pay attention! One wrong move and we will all be defeated here." The protagonist nodded, knowing he was right. He was not in a game. Chris used his fists to invade the Red Lightning orc army. Gritting his teeth, he cursed, "Damn it, don't tell me they already knew everything and prepared to play with us." Caitlin quickly approached her brother, stating that it might be better to retreat, to seek a new opportunity in the future. Chris couldn't believe she was suggesting such a thing. Making a mistake at such a moment would cause them to suffer great losses, possibly even being annihilated in battle. But Caitlin made him realize by reminding him that, at the rate the battle was going, only more casualties would happen. She firmly asked, You need to make a decision. Now is the right time to retreat, brother. Even against his will, Chris bellowed, getting the attention of the troops. From the top of the hill where he was, he proclaimed, "Those who can use magic will stabilize a defensive line in the rear and buy as much time as possible. The rest will quickly form groups to retreat. Survive and return no matter what." In the center of a canyon was a village formed by the orcs. There, they were being healed by the dark elves who had joined the group under Felicia's command. Chris hit a table, blaming himself. I was too complacent. I should have been suspicious, even if just a little, but Vandal didn't blame him. What was done could not be changed. The general saw the only options as withdrawing the troops entirely or requesting reinforcements from the king's castle. Gloomily, Chris agreed. He knew he couldn't drag his subordinates to their graves in vain due to a desire for glory. Before they made the decision, Felicia interrupted them. "I have an idea." Taking the floor, Felicia stated that the reason they had gone to that area had been because of the exploration of the ruins. The destination of the exploration is here, on the edge of the Jishuka Mountains. Shutra knew how Felicia was an excellent mage, but even in Night Saga, she was not a character with a focus on combat. Her traits were geared towards research and exploration of ruins. Felicia opened the map in front of them and, exploring it, came to say, "For a long time, I have been looking for a ruin in these mountains, the ruins of 1,500 years. The lair of the earth dragon Enkidu. Enkidu, a dragon born from lava, employed countless guardians to protect its lair and its treasures. According to Felicia, among the guardians were the dwarves who lived in the Jishuka Mountains, who manufactured countless weapons to protect the lair. The group's attention was even more gripped when she mentioned the dwarves. Creation, the thunder-forging anvil. Not only could it control the chimeras created to serve as guardians, but it was a weapon capable of casting magic on a war scale. Felicia struck the map with conviction and showed her desire for the anvil and its guardians, declaring, "If we want to win, finding this lair is our only option." Under Vandal's gaze, Princess Felicia reminded them that she had gone to that place precisely to find such a lair. The general asked if she knew the exact location, but she denied it. Sighing, Chris solidified the information as useless. He also reminded them that they did not know what the enemy's strategy would be, so he did not want to risk the lives of many in search of a treasure. Felicia gritted her teeth, annoyed by his decision. At that moment, someone stated with conviction, "The thunder-forging anvil is definitely here." To Felicia's surprise, it was Shutra who had taken the initiative. The protagonist had seen the anvil when playing as the hero Locke. Using that memory, he declared, "When I was studying the dwarves' crypt, I found a story. I trust Sister Felicia." The young woman's eyes widened upon hearing the word sister. Using the opportunity created, Shutra imagined he could score some points. Chris, however, wanted to go against the idea. "Shutra, it's not about who trusts who right now. We can't waste time here." The protagonist gritted his teeth, annoyed at how persistent Chris was. He then pointed to a corner in the mountains. "A similar legend has been passed down by the Gandharva tribe in this place." With conviction, he pointed out, "The entrance to the ruin is probably in this vicinity. If I go and look around, I'm sure I can find it. I will take responsibility for what happens if I fail. So please trust me this time." 6 ghost mounts crossed the sky. The flying horses summoned by Felicia carried Shutra, Felicia, Caitlin, and the others. The protagonist had managed to convince them to go in search of the ruin. Karak, worried, shouted to Shutra, "This is not a joke! Stay strong, Prince!" But Shutra was very confident that he would not fail, as he had played this game for a long time. Extending his hand, he opened the map of the location. At the speed they were traveling, he believed they would reach the entrance to the ruin in an hour. With the mini-map, it would not be difficult to find the place. However, he believed the real problem would be guiding the group. Frowning, he tried to think of a plan. However, he let time pass as they traveled, waiting for the right moment to act. When it was time to speak, he stated monotonously, "I looked closely at the tunnel maps when we activated the portal. There seemed to be a certain consistency. If I combine the characteristics of this terrain with those of the tunnels, I think I can approximately figure out the location of the anvil." While he wondered if his acting had worked, everyone stared at him. They asked in doubt, "What did he just say?" In the end, Felicia spoke up. "Go ahead, Shutra. I understood what you said, so take the lead." Surprised that his explanation had been plausible, Shutra asked everyone to follow him. Despite agreeing, Felicia frowned, puffing with envy. Soon, everyone was dumbfounded when they arrived at the location indicated by Shutra. It was just a stone mountain, the end of the line. Confused, Karak asked, "Are you sure the entrance to the ruin is here? No matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem like the right place." Smiling, the protagonist questioned when he had said he would take them to the entrance of the ruins. Confused, Karak just stared at what he would do. Looking at the stone wall, the protagonist turned to Caitlin. "Sister, can you break this?" Shutra stated that he would be counting on her. Not so confident, she said she could try. Observing the size of the wall, Felicia exclaimed in disbelief, "Are you saying the thunder-forging anvil is in this stone cliff?" With a smile, Shutra confirmed, "According to my calculations, we need to break here to find the Guardian's dungeon." While pointing to the wall, stating that Caitlin needed to destroy it, Felicia confronted him. "You idiot. How is she supposedly going to break this with her fists? Do you think she is some kind of siege weapon?" Hearing Sister Felicia, the protagonist scratched his head. It was Felicia, however, who acted. Extending her hand, she began to gather a large amount of energy from the atmosphere. With a confident smile, she stated while forming a sphere, "For ruin explorers, destroying and exploring are practically prerequisites." The sphere of wind was launched against the wall, exploding the gorge. Fissures spread across the stone cliff, which began to collapse. Soon, a large explosion happened when the entire wall fell. In front of the group, a hole appeared in the wall. Upon seeing the cave, Felicia was dumbfounded, incredulous. Stone pillars and a large hall were revealed before her, who murmured, "Did we really find it just like that?" Upon entering the stone hall and finding a coffin, they believed that the thunder-forging anvil must be inside it. Curious, Karak asked if they just needed to break it, but Shutra stopped him. "We can't break it recklessly. If we do something wrong, we might damage the anvil inside." Hearing his brother say that there must be a mechanism to open the box, Felicia watched him in silence. She analyzed the surroundings, noticing the statues that surrounded the tomb, and commented, "Don't these statues look strange? Of the 9, 3 are holding weapons, while 6 are not." Caitlin agreed with her sister and asked if they should give weapons to the others. Felicia doubted it was that simple. She realized that the weapons wielded by the statues were made by dwarves, so they would probably need to place dwarf-forged weapons in the hands of the others. While they wondered where they would get such weapons, Shutra presented himself holding some. "It happens that I have 6 of these swords with me." He had collected the swords he found in the first cave investigated with Karak. He couldn't believe that those weapons, which he couldn't equip due to his level, would now be useful. Karak, confused upon seeing the swords, asked the prince how he had stored them in his backpack. Annoyed at how perceptive Karak could be, the protagonist smiled awkwardly. "Does it really matter? More importantly, help me. They are heavy." Soon, all the swords were positioned on the dwarf statues. A glow appeared in the air, and the eyes of each statue lit up. Just like in them, a light appeared in the coffin, illuminating the entire hall. The lid began to open, revealing the interior. The group approached, eager to find the anvil. They were dumbfounded when, as the coffin disappeared, a large anvil was truly revealed. The thunder-forging anvil. Felicia saw the large anvil and put a hand to her chin, confused. "Wait," she said. "According to the records, a final activation procedure is required." She told Shutra and Karak to stay put, while the others were to move to the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions around the anvil. From their various locations, Felicia intended to infuse mana into the disc below the anvil, moving clockwise and slowly increasing the amount of mana. Soon, everyone was in their designated spots around the giant anvil. Felicia was the first to release her wind magic, asking everyone to focus and do the same. Their mana flowed toward the anvil in the center of the hall. Once the circle was established, Felicia shouted, "Shutra! Increase the amount of mana you're releasing." Shutra obeyed, and Felicia reminded everyone not to let their guard down. The anvil was soon encased in a crackling layer of mana. Shutra gritted his teeth, giving it his all. With the massive amount of mana being released, a bolt of lightning shot toward the sky. The mana was completely consumed, and a powerful wind swept through the room, changing the scenery. In the wind, countless dwarves appeared around them. They were joined by mammoths, other gigantic beings, and even flying creatures. Shutra then heard a voice in his mind. "Listen, my returners." He looked up, and a shadow immediately covered him. He was dumbfounded to see a gigantic dragon in the sky. That was the guardian of the great Enkidu's lair. The protagonist knew that this was a gatekeeper dragon from the game Night Saga, which existed between the Dark Realm and the human realm. The instant he saw the creature, Shutra snapped back to the anvil hall. He still remembered the image of the black dragon and realized it wasn't a guardian, but perhaps the earth dragon Enkidu himself. When Shutra got to his feet, Felicia asked if he had also had a vision of a giant dragon with lava flowing through its veins. Karak joined in, saying he had seen one too. The trio realized they had all had the same vision. Felicia wasn't sure what it meant, but looking at the energy-filled anvil, she figured they would find out once they used it. Felicia approached and touched the anvil. The clear mana surrounding it immediately transformed into a dark power that exploded like a flame. Like a powerful attack, the shadowy power tried to possess her. Shutra quickly tried to stop his sister. As he pulled her away from the anvil, he felt something different. The dark power exploding from the anvil enveloped them both, pushing everyone else away. Worried, Karak and Caitlin shouted at the pair in danger. Shutra screamed so loud that the color drained from his eyes. The mana from the earth dragon Enkidu conveyed a feeling of conquest. This was the trial for the uninvited. This was the conquest, an act of governance. The mana from the anvil was doing just that. trying to govern the duo. Caitlin and Karak watched, worried and confused, as the energy slowly diminished and then extinguished. In Shutra's hand, the anvil had changed shape, becoming a hammer of shadows and powerful mana. Caitlin was shocked to see one of Shutra's eyes transform into pure dark mana. At the same time, something was happening at the camp in the canyon. Someone was watching them from the mountains above. It was a red lightning orc with a spyglass who laughed as he observed the people below. "Heh, you idiots," he said. "You think we wouldn't notice you hiding here?" He then asked a person next to him what to do, attack immediately or something else. He was asking Yakuzan, the great chief of the Red Lightning tribe, for the final order. Yakuzan looked back at his large army and commanded, "Everyone, get ready. We're going to wipe out the remaining bastards." Under the orc chief's command, the entire Red Lightning tribe, accompanied by their giant mammoths, began to move.
Thanks for watching. I'm going to see you next video.